Welcome back to this installment of the Twits by Roald Dahl. Okay, so where we left off was the Twits, Mr. and Mrs. Twit, had gone off to buy guns. And we discussed what would happen. We don't know what's going to happen next because how it's left is the monkeys are standing on their head in their cage, and Mr. and Mrs. Twit have gone to buy guns that could shoot off 50 rounds of ammo at once and therefore shoot all the birds off the roof of their house. So we are going to see what happens next in our book. This next chapter, remember, we start by looking at the title of the chapter and the pictures of the chapter. The title of the chapter will help us understand what the main idea of the chapter is, what's probably going to happen in this chapter, an idea of it, so we can get an idea in our head, so we can be thinking on those lines while we are reading. And then we will also look at the pictures so that we can visualize. We can help see the things happening in our head. When you're visualizing something while you're reading, that means that you are really comprehending it. You are really understanding it. If you're not comprehending it, you're just have a blank in your head, or you keep on having to reread, and that's a sign that you know that you need to go back and try again. Okay, so let's look at the title. Muggle-Wump. Oh gosh, look at that glare. Muggle-Wump has an idea. Muggle-Wump, the main monkey dad, who's been stuck in a cage with the beastly Twits, has an idea. See if there are any pictures. There are. Now I want you to visualize in your head what you think his idea is first before I show you this picture. Okay. In the picture, we can see a monkey reaching out of a cage toward a bird who is holding something. I'll let you tell yourself in your head what he's holding. And then we see monkeys getting something from a giant barrel, along with the help of the roly-poly bird. They're not in a cage. Then we see monkeys carrying barrels up a porch. That looks like a porch going into a door to me. And that's the end of the pictures for that chapter. This is actually a pretty long chapter, and so that's where we'll stop here. But first we'll discuss the words that are going to come up that maybe you would like some background on. So disappeared. Dis means apart or away. Like distance, it's apart from something. And disapparate in the Harry Potter books, that means they went away from wherever they were. Okay, this word is disappear. So they went apart or away from where they are. It's to go away. So every morning, I wrote this in, it's every morning the stars disappear because of the bright sunlight. We can't see them anymore. They're not gone, but we can't see them anymore. Ridiculous means really silly. Mrs. Howard is ridiculous most of the time. A horse teaching penmanship would be ridiculous. They don't have the correct fingers to be able to do it, nor do they speak English. Ridiculous. Maggoty. They're going to describe something as maggoty. If you remember way back to the first of this, I described Mr. Twit's beard as having maggots in it, and maggots are fly larvae. Flies come in, they lay a little egg into something, and then the egg hatches, and that thing that comes out is called a maggot, and they're disgusting. We will not be showing any visuals of it because I don't feel like being sick. Okay, brilliant will come up again. We've already discussed brilliant. It means good idea, or it's a genius idea. Scampered. Now, scampered is a word that means to run quickly, but it usually refers to animals who are scampering. They're running with quick, light steps. A barrel. It's like a big cylinder. A cylinder is a 3D object that looks a lot like a can. Circle on top, circle on bottom, connect it. Okay. They can usually hold some kind of something, like you could put a bunch of tacks in there, maybe some liquid. This is a kind of cylinder. My little water bottle is a cylinder shape, but not perfect because it's got this weird point on top. Anyways, so those are the vocabulary words for this chapter. Let's get started. We're already 4 minutes in. I have to rewind the book because I went through and showed you all the pictures. Okay, Muggle-Wump has an idea. As soon as Mr. and Mrs. Twit had disappeared down the road, the monkeys all flipped back onto their feet the right way up. Quick, get the key! Muggle-Wump called out to the roly-poly bird, who was still sitting on the roof of the house. What key? Shouted the roly-poly bird. The key to the door of our cage, cried Muggle-Wump. It's hanging on a nail in the work shed. That's where he always puts it. The roly-poly bird flew down and came back with the key in his beak. Muggle-Wump reached a hand through the bars of the cage and took the key. He put it in the lock and turned it. The door opened, and all 4 monkeys leapt out together. "We're free!" cried the little ones. "Where shall we go, Dad? Where shall we hide?" "Don't get excited," said Muggle-Wump. "Calm down, everybody. Before we escape from this beastly place, we have one very, very important thing to do." "What?" they asked him. "We're going to turn those terrible Twits upside down." "We're going to do what?" they cried. "You must be joking, Dad." "I'm not joking," Muggle-Wump said. "We're going to turn both Mr. and Mrs. Twit upside down with their legs in the air." "Don't be ridiculous," the roly-poly bird said. "How can we possibly turn these 2 maggoty old monsters upside down?" We can, cried Muggle-Wump. We are going to make them stand on their heads for hours and hours, perhaps forever. Let them see what it feels like for a change." "How?" said the roly-poly bird. "Just tell me how." Muggle-Wump laid his head on one side, with a tiny twinkling little smile that touched the corners of his mouth. "Now and again," he said, "but not very often, I have a brilliant idea. This is one of them. Follow me, my friends, follow me." And he scampered off toward the house, and the 3 other monkeys and the roly-poly bird went after him. "Buckets and paintbrushes," cried Muggle-Wump. "That's what we want next. There are plenty in the workshed. Hurry up, everyone. Get a bucket and a paintbrush." Inside Mr. Twit's workshed, there was an enormous barrel of hug-tight sticky glue, the stuff that he was using to catch the birds, for catching birds. "Fill your buckets," Muggle-Wump ordered. "We are now going into the big house." There they are with their buckets, going into the big house. Mrs. Twit had hidden the key to the front door under the mat, and Muggle-Wump had seen her doing it, so it was easy for him to get in. If they went in, all 4 monkeys with their all 4 monkeys with their buckets of sticky glue. Then came the roly-poly bird flying after them with a bucket in his beak and a brush in his claw. And that's the end of that chapter. What do you think they're doing with the hug-tight sticky glue and going into the Twits' house? I know that if I had been captured by the Twits and they were torturing my family, I would have escaped and ran as fast as I could, as far as I could, as quickly as I could to get away from those crazy evil people. That's not what Muggle-Wump wants to do. He wants to make them stand on their heads forever, which is a fitting revenge. Let's see what happens next.